Brandon Noel Keith, When a Stranger Calls, January 14th, 2017. Page 1. Night is falling on a suburban street. A car is driving away as a blonde teenager is approaching the door to a 2-story house. The streetlights are turning on now. At the foyer, a few knocks at the door. All is quiet. Suddenly, an older woman is approaching from the end of the hall. She opens the door with a smile on her face. Lady of the house.
Hello, Lorraine. Come on in.
Lorraine, stepping in.
Nice to meet you, Miss Perry.
Suddenly, Mr. Perry steps around the corner. Mr. Perry. That's Mrs. Perry. Lorraine.
Of course it is. I'm sorry.
Lorraine sheepishly steps back with a goofy smile on her face. Mrs. Perry.
Now look, honey. You made her nervous. Poor thing.
Mr. Perry. I didn't mean to. Tapping wristwatch. But hey, we're running late. Give her the tour. Lorraine.
Houses are all the same. Bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens, and living rooms. You guys go on.
Mrs. Perry.
Well, okay. The children are asleep. Should stay that way. No problem.
Mr. Perry. You're here just in case. Lorraine.
Gotcha.
Mrs. Perry.
Okay, bye. Help yourself to any food you find. We'll be back around 11.
Lorraine.
Okay, bye.
Mr. Perry shuts the door behind them. Lorraine looks up the stairwell at a closed bedroom door. Then she moves into the living room and has a seat on the couch. She lets out a sigh. She looks up at the grandfather clock. It's dead. Maybe just for show. A little later, in the kitchen, Lorraine opens the refrigerator door. She looks over the food inside. She grabs a steak and cheese burrito and closes the door behind her. She moves towards the microwave and sticks the burrito inside. Page 2. She opens one end of the pouch, then the microwave door is shut. And just as it shuts, the phone rings. Lorraine walks out of the kitchen and into the living room. On the table is her cell phone. She answers. Lorraine.
Hello?
A male's breath at her ear on the other end. Lorraine waits. Lorraine.
Mr. Perry?
Man. Have you checked the children? The man on the other end hangs up. Lorraine sets her phone down. She walks to the stairwell and looks up. She waits. There's no sounds of a boy or girl playing. They must be asleep. Lorraine walks away. A little later, in the kitchen, Lorraine is eating her burrito before the island countertop. Even later, Lorraine is back in the living room, on the couch. She's watching TV, but its volume is set low, as not to wake the children. It's a news channel. An escaped mental patient is supposedly in the area. Police are searching all about. Lorraine picks up her phone and dials a number. She presses the phone to her ear as it begins to ring. Young woman.
Who's this?
Lorraine.
Hi, Diane. It's Lorraine.
Diane.
Oh.
Lorraine.
How are you doing?
Diane.
Fine. I was just getting ready to watch a movie.
Lorraine.
What movie?
Diane.
The new Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Lorraine.
I see.
Diane.
How's the babysitting going?
Lorraine.
Okay, I guess. I just suddenly felt like talking to someone.
Diane.
That's what you get for watching the news, Lorraine. Scary stuff.
Lorraine.
You know me too well.
Page 3. Diane.
How about I call you back when my movie's over?
Lorraine.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'll just read a book or something. See you this weekend.
Diane.
It's going to be a kick-ass concert.
Lorraine.
I hope so. Bye.
Diane.
Bye.
Lorraine hangs up and sets the phone back down on the coffee table. She grabs the TV remote and turns the set off. She sits up and walks up to the bookshelf right beside the grandfather clock. She looks through the books. She runs her right hand across them, then pulls one out at random. Lorraine sits back down on the couch. She opens the book. She starts to read. Then her phone rings again. She picks it up and puts it to her ear. Lorraine.
Hello?
Man. Why didn't you chuck the children? Lorraine sits up quickly. Lorraine.
Who is this?
The man hangs up. Lorraine clicks through her recent calls category on her phone. One call from an unlisted number. The call before, Diane, and the call before that, unlisted again. It wasn't Mr. Perry. It was a stranger, and he knew that she didn't go upstairs. Lorraine approached the front door. She stood up on her tippy toes, looking out the small window at the door's top. From right to left, Lorraine scans the front yard. What little she can. There's no one out there, but the wind is whistling and blowing leaves across her view. Suddenly, the sound of an upstairs door opening. Lorraine turns to face the stairwell. She sidesteps until she's at the bottom step, looking up. The light is turned on in the bedroom, and there's the shadow cast of a man unseen. Lorraine's eyes light up in horror. She quickly darts for the front door and tries desperately to unlock it. But as the sound of rapid footsteps rushing down the stairs directly behind her sound, her eyes squint, shut tightly, and she begins to cry. Then she's pulled around by the stranger unseen and screams. Page 4. Just after 11 that night, Mr. and Mrs. Perry are weeping on their couch as police carry 2 corpse bags out, and a bigger corpse inside a bag on a stretcher being pushed away. A detective man is beside one of the cops. Detective. No sign of the killer? Cop. No, sir, not yet. Detective, under his breath. Fuck. The detective walks away, frustrated. A few months later, in a town far away, a knock at a bedroom door. A dark-haired teenager girl turns over on her bed. Dark-haired girl.
Come in.
Her mom enters. Mom.
Ready.
Dark-haired girl, getting off the bed.
Yeah.
The mom waits until her daughter brushes past her. Then she closes the door. On a street beside the lake, the mom and her teenage daughter are moving in a car. Dark-haired girl.
Why can't I drive?
Mom.
Because I said so.
Dark-haired girl.
Do you even know these people?
Mom.
Friends of your father's. Joe, what's wrong? Can you handle this or not? Tell me now.
Jill.
Yes. Cheese?
Jill's mom sighs. The car pulls up to an isolated house on the lake. It stops. Mom.
Got your phone?
Jill pulls out her phone and shows it to her with one hand, as she opens the passenger side door with the other. Mom.
Any emergency, don't hesitate to call.
Jill.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Page 5. Jill moves around the car as the car backs away. On the front porch, Jill overlooks the lake. Then she turns to the front door as it opens. There stands Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. Mrs. Thompson.
Jill, come in.
Jill smiles, entering the house. Mr. Thompson, as the missus closes the door. Nice to meet you, Jill. Mrs. Thompson.
Listen, we're running late. Why don't I give you a tour?
Jill.
Okay.
Jill follows Mrs. Thompson through the living room and dining room, into the kitchen. Mrs. Thompson puts her arms up in presentation. Mrs. Thompson.
Pretty self-explanatory. Help yourself to the refrigerator. I remember babysitting. Food's the best part.
Jill almost laughs. She's led to the stairwell. Mrs. Thompson.
Bedrooms and bathrooms upstairs. Well, that's it.
Jill.
Where are the kids?
Mrs. Thompson.
Sick with the flu, I'm afraid. Well, they'll probably be asleep the whole time. I hope anyway. Easy, right?
Jill.
Thanks.
Mr. and Mrs. Thompson head to the front door. Mr. Thompson. Numbers to call in the kitchen. We'll be back around midnight. Then one of us will take you home. Jill.
Cool.
Mrs. Thompson waves her goodbye with a smile. Jill heads to the door and closes it. Jill locks it. A little later, Jill is overlooking the big screen TV. She then turns to a wide window view of the lake and approaches it. She looks out ahead. Suddenly, her phone rings. Jill digs in her pants pocket and pulls out her cell phone, answering it. Jill.
Hello?
Boyfriend. Jill, what's up? Jill.
I'm babysitting.
Page 6. Boyfriend. How much are you charging? Jill.
They offered $20 an hour and I took it. They'll only be gone for a few hours.
Boyfriend. Are they rich? Jill.
Yeah. It's a big house. On a lake.
Boyfriend. Aren't you going to invite me over? Jill.
No. That's stupid.
Boyfriend. I miss you, Jill. Jill.
I miss you too, Jason.
Suddenly, Jill spins around at the sight of something moving in the window reflection. Something behind her. She looks about and sees nothing. Jill.
I've got to go. Talk later.
Jill hangs up on Jason. Jill moves across the living room. She enters the kitchen to see a little boy and girl staring at her. Jill.
Hi, I'm Jill, the babysitter. You hungry?
The kids smile at her. Later, Jill and the brother and sister are sitting before the big screen TV, watching Rocco's Modern Life and eating ice cream. Then Jill's phone rings. She picks it off the coffee table and answers it. Jill.
Hello? Jason?
No answer.
Mr. Thompson? I'm sorry,
Jill pulls her phone away and looks at the screen. It's an unlisted number. She puts the phone back to her ear and sits up off the couch. She walks into the kitchen for some privacy as the children continue eating and watching TV. Jill.
Someone there?
Man. Yes. Jill.
Oh, hi. Is this a wrong number?
Page 7. Man. No. Jill.
Who are you?
The man hangs up. Jill looks confused. She puts her phone down. Back in the living room, she sets her phone down. She slumps down on the couch and watches as another episode begins. Jill.
Maybe you two should get back to sleep now. I was told you were sick.
Boy. We want to play. Girl.
Yeah, let's shoot out our Legos.
Jill.
I've seen Legos before.
Jill continued, rolling her eyes.
Okay, let's go.
The boy and girl lead Jill up the stairs, into their bedroom now. They open up a toy chest and pull out their Legos. Jill has a seat on the edge of the nearest of the two beds. She smiles at them as they look up at her. They smile back sweetly and begin to connect piece to piece. Then Jill's phone rings. Jill.
Be right back.
Jill exits the room. She heads down the stairs and right for her phone on the coffee table. She picks it up and reads the screen. It reads unlisted. A moment and pause. Now Jill answers. Jill.
I'm sorry, you have the wrong.
Man, interrupting her. I want your blood all over me. Jill is shaken by these words. Naturally, she hangs up immediately. Jill paces back and forth a moment. Then she dials 911. Dispatcher. 911, what's your emergency? Jill.
I don't know.
Dispatcher. Talk to me, miss. What's wrong? Jill.
An unlisted number. A man. He said he wanted my blood.
Dispatcher. An unlisted number, okay. Page 8. Dispatcher. Listen, if he calls again, we can trace it. You have to keep him on the line for at least a minute. Jill.
He doesn't stay on for longer than a few seconds. I can't.
Dispatcher. Try. Now what's your address? Jill.
I'm babysitting. A lake house on Elm Street.
Dispatcher. There's only one. I know where you are. What's your name? Jill.
Jill Johnson.
Dispatcher. Okay, ma'am, I'm going to send a squad car out to you. Should be there in 20 minutes. Jill.
Okay, thank you.
Dispatcher. You're welcome. Goodbye. The call ends. Jill wipes away a single tear. She looks up the stairwell and heads right back for the children's bedroom. She enters and sees the children fighting to stay awake before the Lego mess. Jill.
Bedtime, kids. Please.
The kids obey, jumping into their respective beds. She tucks each of them in, then steps out, closing the door behind her. Back down the stairs, she walks out into the living room floor. She grabs the TV remote. She changes the channel to a soap opera, then to a news station, then to Unsolved Mysteries. The missing mental patient who left behind 3 dead bodies just a few months back. But then the host begins getting into the details of the crime. Albert Stack, babysitter, an harassing phone prank taken to extremes. Stay tuned, and the whole deadly affair will be revealed on Unsolved Mysteries. Jill turns the TV off. She sets the remote down and starts going through the phone contacts. But now her phone rings. It's the same man with the unlisted number. She answers immediately. Jill.
Hi again. Mister? No, you didn't give me your name. Did you?
Page 9. Jill. No answer.
You want to know what I think? This is some sort of prank. At random. I think you've got nothing better to do than to try and scare people you don't even know.
Man. You don't know me. Jill.
Don't think I want to either. You won't even tell me your name.
Man. It doesn't matter. Jill Johnson. Jill.
Who the fuck are you?
Man. I think the minute mark is about up, matey. Man hangs up. Jill rushes to the window and looks out ahead, to the lake, then to the front porch. She looks intently into the darkness, with only the porch light as a guide. She sees no one. Then the phone rings once more. She answers. 911 dispatcher. Jill, the call is coming from inside the house. Get out! Get out now! Jill drops the phone and rushes to the kitchen. She grabs a butcher's knife, then rushes to the front door. She stops suddenly. Jill.
Shit.
She rushes back down the way, around the corner, up the stairs. She barges into the children's room and sees the kids are no longer there in bed, nor are they seen in this room at all. A look of panic in her eyes as her mouth drops. Tears start to stream down her face. She looks all around for them. Then her eyes dart up to the ceiling, where a darkened figure stares down at her from a wooden perch. Jill almost screams, but can't. Then the man drops down, suddenly enough. Jill swings her knife, but he jumps back, his face unseen. She swings again blindly, scaredly. He takes her by the wrists and laughs maniacally. That's when the children bust out of the closet with a baseball bat each. They start batting at the man's legs, but they're toy bats and only serve to annoy him. Jill pulls him out of the room, as he won't let go of her. The two tumble down the stairwell. Page 10. The children rush to the edge of the top of the stairs. They look down, about to cry, as the man gets atop Jill. But Jill is still struggling, and she still has the knife. She drives it through his right hand and pulls it out. The man pulls off her, letting out a scream. Jill gets up and swings the knife again and again, closing in on him as he backs up to the large window overlooking the lake. Now she drives the knife through his gut. Man. The man backpedals through the window pane. Smash! Shattering glass. Then he falls down a slope into the lake below. Splash! The children rush down the stairs and approach Jill as she approaches the shattered glass. She looks down as the kids hug her tightly. It's too dark to see. At the front door, a squad car is pulling up. The cop gets out of the car and starts heading for the door. He gets to it and knocks a few times. Then he turns around and is stabbed by the stranger with a knife. Once in the gut, then again in the throat, and a slice across the face. The cop slides down and dead as can be. The weakened stranger kicks the door down and starts shuffling down the way, around the corner, into the living room, where the boy and the girl stand below the big screen TV. He advances with the bloody knife, but then Jill comes up from behind, having hid in the kitchen, and she drives the second butcher's knife through. The dying stranger drops his knife. He inspects the knife in his back, and Jill picks the other knife up and slits the stranger's throat from behind. Blood spills out, and he gags and drops flat. Jill.
Face the wall. Close your eyes.
The children obey. Jill is atop the stranger, as if he were a horse. She drives the knife into him again and again. The blood spills out and splatters and sprays. Jill.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
Jill takes one final stab with the knife, driving it through one temple and out the other. It's over. More police arrive soon thereafter, and the children's parents as well, and Jill's mom just the same. Even the detective from the first murders showed up, and he was glad the case was finally closed. Brendan O'Keefe, January 14, 2017. The end. Brendan O'Keefe, January 13, 2017. Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. A bright day, somewhere in the state of Texas. The year is 1990. A young man and woman stand by a broken down car. Woman.
This sucks.
Man. Yep. Woman.
So what do we do now?
The man's mouth shifts to the side in thought. Moments later, the two are walking down the road, away from the car, with a river down a slope on the right of them, and a vast field of short grass on the left. Man. Something on your mind, Katie? Katie.
Yeah. The heat. There's got to be someone around here.
Man. Maybe we should be walking the direction we were going. They stop walking. Katie.
Like I suggested in the first place?
Man. No, I was right. There's probably another town just ahead. Let's keep moving. They continue walking down the road with the sun beating down on them. They pass a dead armadillo, squashed flat in the middle of the road. Katie and the man approach it. Man. Are you hungry, Katie? Katie.
No. It's all yours.
Man. I'll pass. Suddenly, they turn to see a truck coming up from behind them. They step aside and start waving their arms and hollering for it to stop. Man and Katie. Hey, stop!
Hey, stop.
The truck ignores them, squashing their roadkill even more as it departs. Page 2. Katie.
Stupid asshole.
Man. Yep. Just a bit later, the two are walking and seemingly growing more tired. They're drenched in sweat. Katie.
I can't take it anymore. I know you're just as hot. How come you don't act like it?
The man doesn't answer. Katie. Ted. Because I live in the mine. Katie.
I know you do. I'm your sister.
Ted smirks. Ted. Then why'd you ask? Katie rolls her eyes, ignoring the question. Then Ted looks ahead and smiles. Ted. I think I see the town. Katie peers ahead, wiping the sweat off her eyes. Katie.
You were right. Finally.
Ted walks down the slope towards the river. Katie.
Where are you going?
Ted. Gotta piss. Down the slope of grass and small rocks, by a big tree. Ted is just about to unzip his pants, then turns away from a man he did not see at first. This man looked like 300 pounds of muscle and a mullet too. Ted hides behind the tree and pisses. He might have pissed in the river, but that might have pissed the big man off. He was being safe. As Ted is finishing, the big man turns away and walks into the thickness of the green slope. Ted zips up his pants and turns around to the river. Ted. Hey, can you help? The man is gone. Ted sighs. Page 3. Katie peeks over the edge to see her brother Ted walking up the slope. Katie.
Let's go already.
Ted. There was a man down there. Katie.
Ted, look out.
Ted spins around as the chainsaw revs. Ted's eyes lock on Leatherface, and the monster's chainsaw rips through Ted's chest. Katie lets out a terrible scream in shock. The blood sprays as the chainsaw cuts up through the ribcage and neck. And finally through the head, dead center. Ted drops dead, and Katie makes a run for it. Down the street, Katie is screaming madly. She looks back to see Leatherface running after her with his chainsaw. Katie spots a slaughterhouse ahead and runs across the field towards it. Up close, Katie has made it, entering through a door. She's finally stopped crying out, but is still shaking in fear. Inside, she takes a look around. It's dark and quiet. She moves past a few lockers, into the next room, the cold storage, where animal carcasses hang. Katie grabs a small cleaver and turns to see Leatherface break in. She chucks the cleaver at him, and he moves back and aside, out of the way of it. Now Katie is backing away even more terrified, as Leatherface comes running at her. Her back hits a cow's open body, and she spins around, hitting the floor. She immediately starts crawling for the next door, but Leatherface grabs her ankle and drags her back to the center of the room. He flips her over, and she lets out another scream. Her last. Leatherface brings the chainsaw down and cuts Katie in half at the waist. The blood spills. Katie turns herself over weakly and starts crawling away, dying. Leatherface walks over and grabs her by the sticky, bloody hair. It's over for her. Page 4. That night, a male cop turns to a second male cop and a female cop on the front porch of an old woman's house. Male cop number 1. You sure you didn't see anything? The old woman shakes her head, entering her home. Male cop number 1. Thanks for the pie. Sorry to bother you. The three head down to a squad car. They stop and look out ahead at the river and the slaughterhouse in the distance. Male cop number 1. Screams heard, bloodstains, and a broken down car. Male cop number 2. What's it mean, Joe? Joe. Don't know yet. Come on, back to the station. The three get in. With Joe behind the wheel, they take off. Later that night, Sheriff Joe and his 2 deputies are eating barbecue. Ribs and steak. Barbecue sauce on their lips, Coke in their glasses being sipped. Joe. Casey, do you have an opinion? Casey shakes his head. Casey. It's a quiet town, Sheriff. We all know that. Joe. Mary? Mary, the female, looks up, her face even messier than the men's. Mary.
I love barbecue. I really do.
Joe. Good. The three continue to eat. We come across an old farmhouse. Inside, on this dark night, the bodies of Ted and Katie are being cut up by Leatherface. He's hidden in the shadows, but his deeds are well lit. Other victims' bones here and there. Page 5. Sometime later, Leatherface is in the upstairs kitchen. He removes his skin mask and sets it on the table. We don't see his maskless face, but we watch as he pulls Katie's cooked torso from the oven. On the table now, he feasts alone, happily enough it seems. He drinks a glass filled with blood. Back at the police station, a man in a black suit barges in. His squad of 4 well-armed men right behind him. Men in black. Enjoying your dinner? Joe. Casey, Mary, this is Lieutenant Redding. He and his team have some news for us. Redding. We just came back from the Texas Battlelands. Didn't find a thing. Mary.
What's going on?
Joe. Do you remember the Texas Battlelands case file, Mary? Mary.
Sorry, Sheriff. I don't.
Casey. I do, sir. A few years ago, an explosion. One survivor, Vanita Stretch something, a radio DJ, and her friend Lefty was... Casey shoves a rib in his mouth. Redding. Killed in the explosion. With the rest of Leatherface's family. Vanita is recovering at the psych ward as we speak. But the Leatherface's body was never recovered. Joe. Still chasing his ghost, Lieutenant? Redding. Well, you know, just until I find his body. Yeah. Or maybe I'll grow tired of tracking my daughter's killer. Casey. Sir, your daughter is still listed as missing. Redding. In this town, it means she's dead, boy. Now shut up. Page 6. At the old farmhouse, Leatherface is cleaning his chainsaw in the bathtub. Just then does a 10-year-old girl enter from behind. Leatherface turns to her. Girl.
Thanks for dinner. Hey, I was thinking we could get a TV. You think?
Leatherface turns away from her and continues cleaning the blood and chunks off his saw. Girl.
I mean, one that works. Just something to think about.
Leatherface lowers his head. He seems distraught. The little girl senses this and walks over. She hugs him. Girl.
It's okay, Leatherface. I'll take care of you. You're my friend. Unlike my dad.
Leatherface pats her on the back a couple of times, and they unwrap from one another. Joe, Casey, Mary, and Redding enter a squad car and take off from the station as the 5-man team follow in the squad truck. Down the street, the 2 vehicles press on. In the car, Redding is behind the wheel. Joe is in the passenger seat. Casey and Mary are in the back seat. Redding. It was just a few weeks ago. She and I were passing through, on our way to the movie theater 2 towns over. Back tire popped. I pulled over, I grabbed the spare, I start changing the tire, and I don't notice her getting out. But then the door slams. I stand up and see she's gone. Then I spot her running away from me. She said she would, but I didn't believe it until then. I chase after her and then I see him. That monster, Leatherface. He grabs her and stares me down. But I forgot my gun in the car. So I try and plead with him, and my little girl is just giggling. My pain only driving her closer to the killer. That bastard. Page 7. Casey. Are you sure it was him, Lieutenant? Redding. It was him. Anyway, he got away from me. I chased him into the woods, but I never found them. Mary.
What's your daughter's name?
Redding, teary-eyed. Shelby. Pause in the silence. Joe. Where are you taking us? Redding. To the woods, where I last saw Shelby. Back at the farmhouse, Shelby turns away from the window overlooking the woods. She pulls up her backpack and pulls out a storybook. She gets in bed and starts reading aloud. Leatherface is standing at the door. Shelby.
Once upon a time, there were 3 billy goat scruff, who lived on a mountainside of stones and rocks.
Shelby looks up to look Leatherface in the eyes. Shelby.
You're going to stay until I fall asleep this time, aren't you?
Leatherface stares. Shelby.
I get scared. Someone might break in. It happened to my mom and I once when my whole dad was gone. I get nightmares sometimes. I told you, you remember?
Leatherface nods once. Shelby.
Thank you.
Reading continued.
Rough, tough, and gruff are we. Billy Goatsley 3.
Leatherface yawns from beneath his skin mask. He pulls up a stool from the corner and takes a seat. He listens to Shelby read and tries not to doze off before she does. Page 8. The squad car and squad truck are just parking on the outskirts of the woods. Everyone gets out with a lit flashlight. They head on into the thick and begin searching. Their loaded guns in their opposite hands. Mary.
What did you do, sir? To piss off your daughter?
Redding. Kept telling her to shut up. She wouldn't stop. Casey. Stop what? Redding. Tell me what was on her mind? Joe. What was wrong with that? Redding. Fighting tears. I just didn't have the time for her. That was her mother's job, damn it, not mine. Then her mother dies of a heart attack and I have to put up with this shit by myself. Babysitters got more out of her than I did. Mary.
Calm down, sir.
Redding. I will not calm down. My daughter's out here somewhere, and I'll find her one way or another, damn it. Joe. We'll find her, calm down. Redding falls to his knees and weeps uncontrollably. Mary is about to kneel down and comfort him, but Joe snaps at her a few times to get her attention. When she looks up at him, Joe waves his index finger back and forth. Mary steps back. Casey. Shelby? Mary.
Shelby.
Joe. Shelby! Back at the farmhouse, in Shelby's bedroom, she's asleep. Then her name is called out. Leatherface jumps up and rushes to the window. Page 9. The whole team comes up on the farmhouse. Redding stumbles forth, still sniffling. Joe. Looky here, the rundown home of Leatherface, back in 73. Sally and her friends met the chainsaw man, the first real incident. Redding. We've checked it thoroughly. Joe. You dragged us out here. Might as well check it again. Joe leads the pack now. Everyone trails behind the sheriff, and Lieutenant Redding is trailing the furthest behind. They enter the farmhouse. On the first floor, they spread out, bones all over the place. One of the 5 gunners enter the doorway at the end of the foyer hall. The other 4 head upstairs, while Joe and his 2 deputies search the first floor. Redding returns to the front porch and grips his pistol tight. He looks out ahead in the darkness. Redding, quietly. Where are you? Upstairs in the first bedroom, one of the gunners has separated from his team. He looks all about. Then Leatherface shows up behind him. The gunner turns and watches as the sledgehammer is lifted. When the sledgehammer comes down, the gunner's face is caved in. That's 1 down. In Shelby's bedroom, the remaining 3 upstairs enter. They see her storybook in her backpack. Gunner number 1. She's been here. Gunner number 2. Tell the lieutenant. Gunner number 3. You tell him. Gunner number 1. Wait, we're missing someone. Leatherface barges in with his chainsaw and starts swinging wildly, viciously. Page 10. One has his head cut off. Another has his right arm cut off. He screams and watches the third and final being cut diagonally across the torso. Suddenly, Shelby crawls out from under the bed, laughing hysterically at the massacre. Shelby.
Good job, Leatherface.
Up the stairs, Redding and the last gunner rush up. Following them are Joe and his 2 deputies. In the bedroom, Redding enters to see Leatherface holding his daughter up in his free arm, with his right hand holding the revving chainsaw, covered in blood. Redding gasps with widened eyes. He's clearly in disbelief. Shelby.
Say good night, hole.
Shelby lifts the gun she lifted off one of the corpses. She fires a shot off, the bullet through the head of the last gunner. He slams back into the wall with a blood splatter. Redding dives for cover in tears. Joe. Shot fired! Down! Casey and Mary hide behind the sheriff, at the top of the stairs, looking down the hall at the dead gunner and Redding. Shelby.
Dang it.
Leatherface. Oh! Shelby.
I was trying to kill my dad.
Redding. Let her go! Shelby.
Shut up, Daddy.
Shelby fires another shot off, and Redding ducks into the next bedroom. Leatherface sets Shelby down and revs up his chainsaw. He walks out of the room and directly into the next room, as Joe aims and fires back, but it's too quick, a clear miss. Casey. What do we do, Sheriff? She's got a gun! Joe sighs. Page 11. In the next bedroom, Leatherface cuts Redding's feet off at the ankles. The lieutenant screams. Now Leatherface pulls him up and steps back into the hallway. The 3 cops aim their guns, but don't have a clear shot. Leatherface stares them down. Then he ducks into Shelby's bedroom and throws him on the bed. Redding looks as if he's about to have a heart attack. Shelby, pressing gun to his head.
Good night.
Shelby squeezes the trigger. Redding's brains are blown out the back of his head, staining the bed. Now the three cops move in quickly. Leatherface growls. Through the wall, Leatherface smashes through, taking Casey by the back of the neck and throwing him into Joe. They both go stumbling back out the window. Outside, the two drop. Back inside, Mary gets a shot off, but the chainsaw deflects the bullet, and now he drives it through her face and out the back. It's all ground up. Shelby steps out and rolls her eyes, laughing at the sight of it. Now Leatherface pulls the chainsaw out and heads down the hall, down the stairs. Outside again, Joe is trying to help Casey to his feet. Now Leatherface is coming around the corner. Casey. My legs are hurt, Joe. Joe. That's because they're broken. Joe sets Casey down, taking his gun, and with a gun in each hand, he starts firing at Leatherface. Leatherface ducks for cover in the dark woods. Joe. Son of a bitch. Up above, Shelby drops her book bag down from the broken window. It smacks atop Joe's head, and he drops flat with a pained grunt. Shelby laughs. Page 12. Joe gets up and stumbles forth. He goes after the madman with the chainsaw, hiding in the woods. Leatherface turns his chainsaw off and hides behind some trees. He looks around all excited. Back to the house, Casey is crawling away, but then Shelby comes skipping by with a butcher's knife. Casey looks up, but it's too late. Shelby has driven the butcher's knife through his neck. She lets out another laugh. Then she pulls the knife out and wipes away most of the blood on his face before skipping into the woods. Back to Leatherface, intending to get the drop on Joe, but there's Joe behind him. Leatherface spins around and revs up his chainsaw. Joe spits at him. Joe. Fuck you too. Joe empties both guns into Leatherface. Leatherface lets out a few short screams as he's being shot. The chainsaw is dropped, and so are the emptied guns. Leatherface's mask is peeling off slightly piece by piece. He's covered in his own blood, and he slides down the tree. Joe picks up the chainsaw now. Joe. Say goodbye, freak. Over to Shelby, making her way through the woods. She hears the chainsaw and Leatherface's cries. She grows more concerned about his well-being than her own good this time. Shelby, clenching her knife.
Stop it. Leave him alone.
Joe is cutting Leatherface's arms and legs off. Leatherface can't believe it. Shelby comes out of the darkness, but Joe smacks her away. She drops the knife and starts crying like a baby. She looks over to see the sheriff decapitate Leatherface with his chainsaw. Leatherface is finally dead. Joe was modestly rewarded. Shelby was put in foster care until the age of 18, when she was sent to an insane asylum, where she stayed for the rest of her life. Brandon O'Keefe, January 13th, 2017. The end. Brandon O'Keefe, Halloween, Escape from Michael Myers, April 21st, 2016. Page 1. Halloween night, 1978. A teenage girl with a ponytail walks up to a two-story house. Up to the door, she rings the doorbell. A cold night as she shivers, waiting for the door to be answered. Then it is. The man of the house opens the door. Father. Cassie, come in. Cassie.
Happy Halloween, Mr. and Mrs. Lyle.
Cassie shuts the door. The mother steps up. Father. We appreciate you taking care of Richie with such short notice. Cassie.
I need the money.
Mother.
The phone number is on the fridge. Anything at all, call us.
Cassie.
Of course. You two have fun at the party. I don't mind staying till morning.
Father. Well, good. Mother.
Don't let him boss you around.
Cassie.
Bye.
The parents leave. Cassie shuts the door behind them and locks it instantly. She turns around. Cassie.
Richie?
Cassie leaves the living room in search. Page 2. Cassie heads upstairs. She opens Richie's bedroom door to see him playing an Atari game system. Cassie.
Hi, Richie.
Richie looks back at her, but only for a glimpse. He returns his sights to the TV set. Richie. Hi. Cassie.
I'm Cassie, your babysitter.
Richie. Yeah. Cassie.
Did you take a bath yet?
Richie. No. Cassie.
Well, why don't you get that out of the way? and I'll fix you dinner.
Richie, what are you making? Cassie.
I don't know what you have. Of course we could. Always order something.
Richie, okay. Cassie.
10 more minutes.
Richie, okay. Cassie smiles and walks away. She heads down the hall and back down the stairs. In the kitchen, Cassie picks up the phone and starts to dial a number. Now she stands by it as it begins to ring. Page 3. A young woman's voice on the other end. Young woman.
Hello?
Cassie.
Suzanne. It's Cassie.
Suzanne.
Hey, I just called you. Wanted to know if you want to come over and watch some horror movies with me.
Cassie.
I'm not at home. I'm babysitting for the Lyles.
Suzanne.
Well?
Cassie.
Maybe we can hang out here after little Richie goes to sleep. I don't think the parents will be back until the morning.
Suzanne.
Can I bring Roger?
Cassie.
Uh-huh. But you two got to be quiet.
Suzanne.
And maybe I'll bring Kevin, too.
Cassie.
I don't know.
Suzanne.
He likes you.
Cassie.
He said that.
Suzanne.
He hasn't stopped saying it when I told him you liked him.
Cassie.
I still don't know.
Suzanne.
Yes, you do.
Cassie.
1 hour.
Page 4. Upstairs, Cassie walks up to the bathroom door and knocks a few times. Cassie.
Richie, dinner's ready.
Cassie walks away. In the dining room kitchen area, Richie has a seat at the table. He stares down at a plate of microwave burritos. Richie. I'm sick of these. I thought you were going to order out. Cassie rolls her eyes. Cassie.
Just eat it.
Cassie sets a glass of milk before him. Richie. I can't drink milk. Cassie.
How about some orange juice?
Richie. That's for breakfast. Cassie.
Get what you want. I'm not your slave. I'm your babysitter.
Richie sits up and walks to the fridge. He pulls out a bottle of wine. Cassie lunges at him, taking the bottle away. Cassie.
No.
Richie. I'm allowed to have one glass. Cassie.
Not while I'm around.
Richie pouts, sitting back down. Page 5. A little later, Cassie is at Richie's bedroom door. He's in bed and the lights are off.
Good night, Richie.
Richie. Good night. Cassie is about to close the door. Richie. Hey, Cassie? Cassie.
Yeah, Richie.
Richie takes a deep breath. Cassie.
What's wrong?
Richie. Kids at school said the boogeyman is out tonight because of Halloween. Cassie.
And you believe them?
Richie. They said he kills kids, and you can't kill him. Cassie.
It's just a scary story. Don't pay any attention.
Richie. I guess you're right. Cassie.
I won't let anything happen to you. That's why I'm here. Good night.
Richie. Good night, Cassie. Cassie closes the door. Richie turns his sights to his window. The wind whistles a haunting tune. Downstairs, Cassie is sitting on the living room couch, listening to the little radio on the end table. Page 6. Debbie.
Fade away and radiate.
The song continues as Cassie stares at the muted television set playing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Radio host. That was Fade Away and Radiate by Blondie, from their newest album, Parallel Lines, in stores now. Radio announcer. This just in. Radio announcer continued. The hunt for the recently escaped Michael Myers of Haddonfield Penitentiary continues. We recommend all civilians stay inside and lock your doors. The masked man is considered extremely dangerous, and reports indicate that he has killed or severely injured close to a dozen people at last count. Please do not feed his terror. Instead, assist authorities in the safest way possible by staying home and alerting the police of any suspicious activities. Thank you. A knock at the door. Cassie turns the TV off, gets up, and walks over to it. She opens it up, and there stands her 3 friends, Suzanne, Roger, and Kevin. Cassie.
Hey guys. Remember, got to be quiet.
Roger. Not too quiet. Suzanne.
We brought some beer.
Page 7. A little later, Cassie and Kevin are on the couch kissing. Roger leads Suzanne away. In the backyard, the porch light is turned on. The back door opens and Roger takes Suzanne to a small shed. Hidden in darkness is a white face watching them from behind a big bush. This figure watches the two enter the shed. In the shed, Roger pulls up Suzanne's shirt. Roger, happy Halloween. They lean in for a kiss. Suzanne pulls away. Roger, oh come on, don't be this way. Suzanne,
I think I see someone in those bushes over there.
Roger turns to the bushes across the darkened yard. Roger, hey, who is that? Somebody there? There's no answer. Roger starts walking that way, closer and closer. We stay with Suzanne, pulling her shirt back down. She watches intently as Roger steps up to the bushes. Roger, hello? Roger moves his arms to spread the bush apart. He pokes and prods. Then his fingertips touch the wood. He looks into the darkness. There's no one there. He sighs in relief. Page 8. Roger. It was probably a... Roger stops cold. He sees a masked man lifting Suzanne off the ground by her throat. Roger runs right at him, at full speed. The shape rips Suzanne's throat out. She drops dead, and the shape turns to Roger. Roger wraps his arms around the shape in a failed tackle attempt. One punch in the gut, but the shape doesn't seem to be affected, only angered. Roger is picked up and slammed down headfirst like a spike. His head is destroyed like a smashed pumpkin. The shape turns his sights to the back porch. He picks up a garden claw on his way out of the shed, on his way to the house. Inside, Kevin opens a can of beer. He chugs away as a shirtless Cassie walks away. She enters the kitchen and opens the refrigerator. She doesn't notice the shape watching her at the window. Cassie pulls out the bottle of wine. As she leaves, the back door opens. The shape is entering the kitchen as we follow Cassie into the living room. Cassie.
Look what I've got.
Kevin. Open it up. Here, I'll do it. Kevin takes the bottle and pulls out a Swiss Army knife. He uncorks the wine bottle with ease. He laughs in his success. Page 9. Kevin chugs away at the wine. Cassie.
Kevin, save some for me.
Kevin hands her the bottle in a hurry, now jumping up. Kevin, where's the bathroom? Cassie points down the hall. Kevin runs down the hall and turns a corner. He darts through the family room and enters the downstairs bathroom. The door slams shut. Kevin lifts up the toilet seat as the shower curtain is pulled back. Kevin's head slowly turns and his eyes widen in shock and awe at the shape lifting a garden claw. The claw is dragged across his face, but before he gets a chance to scream, the shape digs the claw in deeper. Blood sprays out of the nasty wounds. He doesn't leave Kevin alive, nor does he leave him with much of a face. The Swiss Army knife drops to the ground. Back in the living room, Cassie sips wine, straight from the bottle. She's watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre now, unmuted this time, screaming for Marilyn Burns' Sally Hardesty as Gunnar Hansen's Leatherface chases her with a chainsaw. Cassie looks down the hall, a glimpse of a figure moving by. She sits up slowly. Page 10. Cassie walks down the hall and turns as she enters the family room. She approaches the downstairs bathroom. She pushes the door open and flips the light switch, a gasp of horror at the sight of Kevin's corpse. She lets out a scream. Then she runs up the stairs. Cassie.
Richie, wake up.
Cassie runs down the upstairs hallway. She quickly opens Richie's bedroom door. Richie sits up as his light is turned on. Richie. What's going on? Cassie.
We're getting out of here. Right now.
Cassie yanks him out of the bed and drags him down the hall. She looks back to see the shapes stepping out of the master bedroom. Her eyes widen, and both she and Richie let out a horrible scream. The Swiss Army knife comes flying through the air. Cassie ducks, pushing Richie's head down. The blade sticks in the wall. Cassie signals Richie to run down the stairs. As she picks up a lamp off a small round table, she throws it at the approaching masked killer. He swats it away, and it shatters. Cassie is full of panic. She breathes heavily. Page 11. She picks up the table itself and throws it just the same, before bolting down the stairwell. The shape grabs the table midair and chucks it down upon the babysitter. Cassie.
Oh.
Cassie tumbles down the rest of the way, holding the top of her bleeding head. The shape slowly moves around the corners and descends casually. Cassie stumbles into the kitchen. She grabs a butcher's knife. The shape turns the corner and is stabbed in the chest. Cassie then knees him in the crotch. The shape falls back flat on the floor. He's not moving. Cassie breathes heavier than before, panting for air. She's trying her hardest not to cry. Cassie.
Richie? Richie, where are you?
The boy doesn't answer. Cassie turns her back on the shape, now pulling a cleaver from a drawer. She turns to see the shape rising. He rips the butcher's knife out of his chest and stares into Cassie's eyes. Cassie.
You bastard.
Cassie raises the cleaver as Michael advances. He grabs her arm as it's brought down. She screams again. Page 12. Michael stabs Cassie in the shoulder. A splash of blood and a gasp that can't bear to turn into yet another scream. She looks deep into the shape's blackest of eyes, and he stares right back into hers. Then he throws her aside, now wielding the cleaver. He looks it over, then turns his sights upon her, as she gags and crawls weakly, trying to dig the knife out of her shoulder. Richie. Hey, boogeyman! Michael turns to Richie at the doorway, aiming a handgun at him. Michael cocks his head to the right, and then Richie opens fire. Once, twice, 3 times. Now 4. 3 times in the torso and 1 in the neck. Michael Myers drops to his knees, and then face first onto the kitchen tile. Richie walks up to Cassie and helps her pull the knife out of her bloody shoulder. She weeps, giving Richie a quick hug. Then he helps her up. She stumbles to the phone on the wall and picks it off the receiver. She dials 911. A bit later, 3 cops and 2 paramedics are at the scene. Cop. The parents are on the way, taking you both to the station for safekeeping. Cassie watches as Suzanne and Roger are taken away. Page 13. At the police station, Cassie looks away from Richie being comforted by his parents. Officer. I'm sorry about your friends. The guy who attacked you is named Michael Myers. He escaped from the Smiths Grove Sanitarium last night. I don't mean to alarm you, but I think you should know. Cassie.
What?
The officer sighs. Officer. His body didn't make it to the morgue. There was a car accident. No survivors. Except that his body is the only one not accounted for. Cassie.
He's still out there. He couldn't have lived. That boy shot him 4 times. I stabbed him. It's not humanly possible.
Officer. I just thought you deserved to know. Now I assure you we're not going to stop looking for him. An old man in a trench coat enters. Cassie turns. He extends a hand and they shake. Loomis. I'm Dr. Loomis. Pleasure to meet you, Cassie. Officer. Dr. Loomis was Michael's doctor, ever since he killed his sister back in '63 at the age of 6. Loomis. That's right. Page 14. Dr. Loomis and Cassie walk across the parking lot. Cassie.
You know him better than anyone.
Loomis. Yes. Cassie.
How did he survive those gunshots?
Loomis. You're under the assumption that he's a human being. A man. He's evil incarnate. Cassie.
I believe you. Richie, the boy, called him the boogeyman.
Loomis. That's an accurate assessment. Cassie.
We both know he's still out there. So don't try and comfort me with the idea that it's over.
Loomis. I wasn't going to. Cassie.
Do I have to leave the state?
Loomis. That's up to you. Buy a gun if it makes you feel safe. I have one myself, but it won't stop him. Nothing will. Cassie.
I can't believe that.
Loomis. I don't want to believe it either, but it's just the way it is. I'll take you home. Loomis and Cassie get in the car. It takes off in no hurry. Brandon O'Keefe, April 21st, 2016. The end. Brandon O'Keefe, October 12th, 2015. Pumpkinhead III. Page 1. The Chrome Skull Killer was stalking his latest victim through a forest. It was very dark, and this woman was quickly running out of breath. So little time to take a break, but she needed to immediately. Her head against a tree. A minute later, and she could run again. But it was less than that. She turned to the Chrome Skull Killer with his shoulder-mounted video camera, recording the events leading up to this point. Let me go, she panted. Then he began to gut her with a hunting knife. Proud of his work, he didn't notice the avenging beast behind him until it was too late. Pumpkinhead whipped Crumbskull around and lifted him off the ground. The beast sunk his jaws into the skull. The frontal half of the killer's head bit right off, and the blood spilled rapidly. It wasn't long afterward, after the bodies settled and Pumpkinhead was gone, that a man and woman found the mess. His name was Arnold, and her name was Cindy. Amongst themselves they muttered in disgust and fear before running off. Down the quiet street the legend of Pumpkinhead came to mind. 1 month later, Arnold and Cindy are joining the Pumpkinhead Museum, a small roadside building in the forest where the legend began. Arnold as the cook in the back diner, Cindy as the cashier. And then there was Jed, the owner. He would show them the Pumpkinhead computer game, the various clothes, dishes, and posters inspired by the monster, even 2 movies, Ashes to Ashes and Blood Feud. But Jed was right about their quality. They sucked. They got to know a local teenage boy named Ian. He would frequently be there, keeping the 3 of them engaged. He was good company. Beyond that, only curious tourists would show up from time to time, some 10 to 20 customers per week, not so worth it, and Jed was certainly always on the verge of quitting, but it was job security that made him stay. Arnold and Cindy were there because they believed the monster was real. Jed was childishly hoping, though not really believing. It was a story like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, an interesting story to keep in mind, for it was this part of the world that it originated. Louis and Penny, 2 tourists, entered the museum. The first thing they saw was the giant Pumpkinhead statue in back, staring at them with arms outstretched. It was placed directly parallel with the main entrance. This couple was bored, looking for some excitement. They had heard about the tour, and wanted to kill some time. So Jed stayed behind to mind the store with Ian, while Arnold and Cindy took Louis and Penny by golf cart down the road. They were shown the old witch's house, and one of the 2 known graves where the monster had known to emerge from. The witch had died years ago. Down the road, some more, past Harley and Son's little shop. Harley's son was killed by some punk kids, so Harley found the witch, and the witch released Pumpkinhead, with a vengeance on those accused. Finally, to the other grave. It was a pumpkin patch, deep in the woods. Here, the 4 took a break, for about 10 minutes, until the drunken Louis became easily enraged, over nothing. Page 2. Cindy lost her baby in the fall. Louis knew this was no good, and bailed, taking Penny with him after slapping her around. Penny was weak and took off as easily as Louis wanted her to, in the golf cart. Arnold and Cindy wept for the loss of their child. But then the crying came to a halt. Cindy began chanting the very words she learned so recently. Arnold added his own blood to hers, and sure enough the monster was summoned. Pumpkinhead lifted out of the pumpkin patch and roared furiously. Night has fallen. The cart has died, near Harley's shop. Louis and Penny take refuge from the oncoming storm here. Thunder rolls, lightning strikes, and rain pours down from the sky. A conversation between this couple about what had just transpired. Penny so sorrowful, Louis in denial and in defense of his own drunken actions. He started to believe Penny is against him, and starts to beat her. He stops only when the sound of a passing diesel losing control. The 2 rush outside to see it slam into the roadside trees. 1 tree collapses. Out ahead, the diesel driver is burning alive and screaming for help. Instead of attending to the cries, Louis shoves Penny back inside. The sound of the diesel exploding. Penny is in tears more so than before. Just when Louis thinks it's all over, Pumpkinhead knocks the door down, growling. Ah! Louis screams and Penny does too. Louis is picked off his feet. He's mercilessly thrown across the room. He smashes against the wall and drops so quickly. Penny is frozen in fear. She's backhanded through the window. Smash! She's dead on impact. Pumpkinhead makes his way to the slowly recovering Louis, and he looks into the monster's eyes. He can't believe this is happening to him. Pumpkinhead reaches down and lifts him up with his right claw hand. Louis swings and swings some more. There's no impact on his part. This is already over. Pumpkinhead proceeds to slowly crush Louis's skull. Later that night at the hospital, Arnold stands by while Cindy is taken care of. The anger is still there for both he and her. Out of the hospital now, it's been a week. Leaving the parking lot, Pumpkinhead watches them from behind some trees. Back at the museum, Jed sends Ian home. He wanted to see Arnold and Cindy, but Jed sensed correctly that they wouldn't be in the mood. A bit later, Arnold and Cindy returned to the museum. Jed said a hello, but it wasn't met with anything more than an angry glare by the pair of them. Jed wanted to question them. He wanted to this past week, but it just wasn't going to happen. At Ian's home, Ian and his mother are in the kitchen. He's watching her make spaghetti. Then she sends him upstairs to fetch a cookbook. Ian begins to head upstairs, not noticing Pumpkinhead moving past the window from outside. In the upstairs office, on the bookshelf, Ian looks up and down until he finds the cookbook. He pulls it off the shelf and walks out of the office. Down the hall, and beginning down the steps, he stops at the side of the open front door. He calls for his mom, but she doesn't answer. He turns into the kitchen to see Pumpkinhead over his severely cut-up mother. Then he lunges at Ian. Page 3. Closing time. Arnold and Cindy are to make sense of everything. Jed is knocking on the door, calling for them to answer him. They don't. He eventually explains that this is not going to help them, and that he's really worried about them. When Jed steps back onto the main floor, he sees Pumpkinhead looking over to the statue in his very likeness. He knocks it over, turning to face Jed, who can't move at all. Pumpkinhead lunges and Jed makes a run for it. The monster follows. He knocks over one shelf and, as a domino effect, the other shelves fall over. Jed reaches the door and even opens it, but then Pumpkinhead takes hold of him and rips him in half. Pumpkinhead turns to see Arnold and Cindy staring at him. They don't seem afraid. In the back room, a little later, Arnold and Cindy figure correctly that Pumpkinhead is childlike, as if the beast was inhabited by the soul of their dead unborn. But it was likely just characteristics of said unborn, due to the nature of this particular summoning. Cindy cries not for the dead, but for this creature before her, is the closest thing to her prior infant she'd see. The following morning, Arnold and Cindy leave the museum in flames. He drives a small truck. Cindy is in the passenger seat. Towed behind is a small trailer. Inside is Pumpkinhead. That afternoon, the truck arrives at their cabin. Jed and Cindy enter, whereas Pumpkinhead goes about in the woods to stay, as a pet of sorts. Arnold and Cindy make love in the upstairs bedroom, the only room up there, with a balcony that overlooks most of the inner cabin below. Finally, after the sex, the two seem at ease. They would rather be left alone, with the exception of their monster child. Nothing previously held dear mattered anymore. That night, Victor Crowley chases a naked woman through the woods. She's bloodied and screaming crazily. She finds her way to the cabin. Inside, she slams the door behind her and looks out. Out of the small kitchen and into the main room below, Arnold and Cindy peek over the railing above in confusion. The woman cries for help. Then Crowley busts in. Victor Crowley chases the woman upstairs, driving an axe into her back. He flings her back and she crashes into the TV, dead. Cindy screams, making a run for it as Arnold tackles Victor. He starts slugging the big freak in the sides. Victor bear hugs him, cracking his back. Blood pours out the mouth and Arnold is dropped. Now Victor charges down the stairs after Cindy, but she's now hiding behind Pumpkinhead. Victor steps and stares in disbelief, but only for a moment. He charges. Pumpkinhead impales Crowley via Longtail. Then its claws tear into him, ripping his chest wide open. Victor screams in agony. Then Pumpkinhead sinks his teeth into Victor's head. Cindy laughs it up loudly as Victor is torn apart. Cindy doesn't stop laughing. Pumpkinhead flicks its tail all about, pleased to please her. Pumpkinhead III, Brendan O'Keefe, October 12, 2015. The end.